back, everyone, to the LEC, where Misfits are looking to continue their winning streak versus Astralis. And for the Bunnies, last week was a sign of life and possibly the start of their resurgence. So we wanted to take a look back and talk about them for a while in a pre-prepared text. But it's not a monologue, since there's two of us.
There's two of us. It's a duologue.
There we go. So we wanted to use the past of the Misfits to look forward. And Misfits, of course, is a bit of an old school organization. They qualified for the 2017 EU LCS with some names that you may still recognize.
The lineup of Alphari, Maxlor, Paravival, Hansama, and Ignar was what defined the organization. In their inaugural year, they expanded their playbook and found more approaches to the game.
There were a bit of question marks around how the team would succeed come playoffs, but they surprised everyone going through UOL and Fnatic to eventually make it to the EU LCS Summer Finals in Paris, where they got beaten by G2. But regardless of this, the team only went from strength to strength from season to season. And then came the moment that defined Misfits and what they could stand for, the 2017 World Championship.
They were in the group of death, a group that many debated who would actually get out. For many, Misfits were not favored, especially with the TSM roster that was looking good and the LMS plus LPL representatives presenting strong rosters as they often did come Worlds. Misfits ended up in an epic tiebreaker against TSM to determine who would get out of the group, where they were able to take the win, moving on to the playoffs and bringing 2 European teams to the quarterfinals.
Crazy stuff, but it was about to get crazier because they drew SKT. All of us in Europe thought that was it. They had a good year, rather. No shame in losing to the 3-time world champion and the GOAT Faker himself. But on that day, the rookies did not go down without a fight. With signature picks, insane plays, and an intense best-of-5, Misfits pushed SKT to their very limit. I mean, it still hurts watching because it all wasn't enough in the end, but it was a damn impressive run and year out of that team. Oh, look at it.
With their first year a resounding success, many of us were excited for the return of Misfits in 2018. Even after losing heavy hitters, Power of Evil, and playmaker Ignar, they were replaced with Senkox and Mickey, keeping the core carries of Alphari and Hansama. Expectations were obviously high. Unfortunately, after a good start, the team collapsed, finishing in 7th place with a 5th place regular season finish in summer, to then ending in 4th overall. The team did not have a very good year.
They did not, and we thought that it may get better, but it would only get worse moving into 2019. After a disappointing year, the org did make some big moves, fielding what was considered a super team. We had the return of Febiven, we have the addition of Soaz, and the introduction of absolute legend Gorilla. But however, this would go on to be the worst year in the organization's history, with an 8th place finish in spring and a 9th place finish in summer.
The 2020 roster brought with it rookie players combined with veteran talent in the hopes of finding that old spark, yet it wasn't enough, ending 6th place in the spring playoffs and not even qualifying in summer. So why are we bringing up the past? Well, this year, Misfits wants to return to the magic of 2017. They want to find that next star to build upon, the next chapter of the Misfits history book.
And well, with a 2-0 week, this could be the turning point for Misfits. Vetheo and Razork found the synergy they've been looking for and still have a chance to make that run to the playoffs, to bring back some magic from the past. But a lot rests on the shoulders of these young players, and with only 5 games left, we're here to see if the Misfits can return to the top, and today they take on Astralis.
Thank you very much, Shox. Yes, we're heading into our second game of the night here, Misfits versus Astralis. And again, this is another important one for those playoff races. Misfits are vying for a spot alongside Schalke and Excel. And having just seen Schalke lose, this is the time for Misfits to pounce. But Foxy, Astralis are not 100% out of the running.
No, they're not. Astralis, the dream is still alive for them. We've seen stranger things happen in the LEC come playoff time. I mean, Schalke last year, you know, we all know the playoff miracle run there. So it could happen again for Astralis. Both these teams really important game to win if they want to make playoffs.
I just want to take that and take it into context. We had the LEC guys run some stats on potential scenarios. There are millions and millions of potential scenarios running down, and they sampled 1.5 million of them. Foxy, what do you think the percentage chance for qualification for Astralis is off those 1.5 million scenarios?
10%.
You're a little bit too hopeful, mate. It's 4%. We'll see if they can turn it around and build on that percentage as we head to our champion select for Misfits versus Astralis. We're into Champion Select here, Astralis versus Misfits. And again, I think this is going to be an important one for both teams, not only for Misfits to secure themselves a win heading towards those playoff races, but also Astralis, they need this win. This win gives them that extra chance. It gives them that lifeline to potentially, and it is a big long shot, but Astralis could channel serious summer Schalke energy and get a playoff spot.
It's possible, man. But if the odds are as low as 4%, you absolutely can't afford to drop any games heading forward. As we're going to get into the bans, here's Zoe against Vetheo. Pretty standard stuff. He's a disgusting Zoe player. Absolutely empirical on that champion. Graves and Udyr with Thresh and Caitlyn. So this means that Twisted Fate and Rel are both still open, considered to be pretty OP picks in the current meta. And ooh, we're going to leave both of them open. Okay, so Astralis, pick your poison.
Well, Skarner's banned. I mean, Rel's going to be taken first, I believe, here for Astralis. They'll lock that in. And now we'll wait to see. And obviously, Skarner being one of Zanzarah's main champions, they feel that that's going to be a bit of a targeted ban towards him.
So fun fact, not so fun fact for Zanzarah, but Zanzarah hasn't won a single game in the LEC where he wasn't playing Skarner or Hecarim. With Skarner already taken off of the board, I wonder whether Astralis are going to decide to go for that Hecarim or whether they're going to pick a new jungler. There it is, the Olaf here. Okay, so they're changing things up here and trying to rewrite history.
He's going to give himself, expand his champion pool from wins from 2 to 3. And Zanzarah is, obviously, he's a more facilitating jungler. He generally tends to play a bit more for his team, especially compared to Razork, who is a much more aggressive jungler. But it is going to be an Olaf and a Xayah locked in. So a Xayah Rel bot lane here is the full complete rotation for Astralis on first pick phase. And it will be a Lilia locked in for Misfits as we head to the bans.
Lilia here for Razork. He's played it once so far in the LEC. Not necessarily... You know what? I'm actually going to take that back. I do think it's a pretty good Razork champion. He loves to farm. I want to see kind of similar to what we saw from El Yoya in the last game. Both of those Spanish junglers having somewhat similar play styles. And Lilia, of course, is being a very strong pick in the current meta. Phase 2 of the bans coming through right here. Twisted Fate taken off the board. No real surprise right there. Jace as well. So it's interesting to see. I think maybe we'll be seeing like a blind top here for Astralis, and they're just trying to get rid of some of the hard counters in case they want to pick like the Gnar or something like that.
Yeah, and actually Magi, if you've seen him play in the ERLs, he's got a pretty mean Twisted Fate on him. And I'm actually kind of excited to see MagiFelix. I've cast this guy in the European regional leagues for quite a long time now. He used to play for Fnatic Rising. So I haven't had the chance to see him, or at least cast him play at the LEC level. And he's definitely one of those mid laners that has never quite lived up to the expectations set for himself outside of competitive. But obviously on Astralis, if he could be part of that potential turnaround for them, then that would be a huge for him and his legacy as a player as well.
Absolutely. MagiFelix has always felt like he's been on the cusp of being a great EU mid laner and not quite being able to make it happen. And he is yet to pick his champion. He's going to have to blind pick it in this game. HiRit now sweeps up the Sion. He's no stranger to these tankier top laners, so he'll be able to, inspired of course by Armor in that last game, he was absolutely unkillable. Just going to put that tanky undead geezer in the top side, and WhiteKnight here looking to answer, potentially with a tank of his own. It is going to be that Gragas in the top lane.
And we'll see the blind pick now that will come through for MagiFelix. There are a few good blind picks. The Azir is still up, I believe. So if they wanted to slot an Azir into this composition, it is something that is available for him if he wanted it. And it's generally considered, I think, a relatively solid blind pick. Syndra also one of those blind picks that works really well. And we'll see how Vetheo chooses to respond. He is a bit more of an aggressive mid laner. And it's the Yone.
Okay, didn't even think about that one, just slapping that one right down. I think the Syndra pick was really smart. It denies it from Vetheo, it's his most played champion. Also denies the Orianna, which is his second most played champion, because Orianna is not good into Syndra. So he whips out the wild card. It's Yone. We have seen Vetheo play Yone before. I wasn't able to win on it, but still we have seen it. And I think it really suits the kind of play style that Vetheo likes to give us. All in all, if we're just taking a look at these team compositions, I'm curious to see who's going to be able to match Yone in that side lane once he decides to go for more of that kind of split style, if Misfits decide to do some more of that. Whereas the group top fight, the dog pile comp, as I like to call it, from from Astralis here, where you just kind of move forward, fight, and engage. I think Astralis will be looking way more for those team fights.
So looking for a team fight versus a potential split push style composition. Love to see how it plays out as we are heading on to the Rift for our second game of the night here. It is Misfits versus Astralis. We are on to the Rift here, Astralis versus Misfits. Let's see how this early game pans out. What are you expecting? Anything crazy in the early game here? Are you just really more expecting it to be farm central, let Zanzarah just path like he wants to, and we sort of meet around neutral objectives, or are you expecting any sort of like crazy ganks to happen?
I am absolutely 1,000,000% not expecting any crazy ganks to happen. In fact, if one of these two junglers doesn't take every single one of their camps in their first clear, I will consider that a shocker. Olaf has one of the fastest clear speeds in the entire game. Lilia in there as well. Just two power farm junglers, and yeah, I'm not expecting a huge amount different. We are playing on 11.4, so those jungle nerfs have come through, but didn't really impact the jungle meta too much. And all in all, on average, it's something like 10 minutes. I believe the junglers are down about like a camp and a half, so it's not a huge amount. And still, obviously, there's a lot of reason to pick these farming junglers and just play PvE for the early game.
And speaking of the junglers, that is a matchup that we've been interested in talking about. Razork versus Zanzarah. Two very different style junglers, Foxy. One of whom is a little bit slower pace, less teamfight contribution in terms of damage, whereas Razork really is one of the biggest carry junglers in our league.
Yeah, Razork is really, really good at being a carry jungler. Like his ability to kind of like soak up just resources and attention is really, really quite unparalleled. We're going to see Promisq jump in. Not too much going on here. Both aftershocks just going to get popped. But yeah, as we were saying with Razork, I think he's just like, he's one of the highest damage share junglers in the entirety of the LEC. Like, the thing is that most junglers don't reach north of 20%, and he's one of only two junglers that have been able to do that. Self-made is the other one, so it's a pretty good company right there. Zanzarah, on the other hand, much more focused towards playing for his team, more of a utility-focused champion, and it's something around like the 14% for him damage share. So two completely different styles here, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out in this one, because I think both these champions can lean into both those kind of styles. With Olaf playing more of a team orientated jungle path.
Let's see. I mean, obviously this game means a lot for Misfits, just as the last game meant for Schalke as well. I mean, Misfits are one of our three horses in that three-horse race for the playoff spots. You can see that they are currently now just above Schalke, as if Schalke took that loss, but obviously with a win here, they'll put themselves above XL as well for the time being. There is a bit of an engage coming through, though. Promisq does take a lot of damage on that rel to begin with. Have to be a bit careful, Promisq. But obviously, Misfits right now, they are in a good spot to start accelerating, especially with that Schalke loss, and potentially be the front runner for that playoff spot coming into next week.
Absolutely. I think it's something that you've got to be really, really cognizant of at this stage of the tournament here in the spring split. Misfits have had some pretty good games recently. They're on a 2-game win streak, which is pretty good form when you're trying to fight for that spot in playoffs. And speaking of good form, this is a perfect start here for Razork. He's going to get both of these Scuttle Crabs, which is, honestly, if you're playing Olaf and you can't get a single Scuttle early, that really, really sucks. And I just wonder what he's going to do with that now. Is he going to look to maybe try and gank topside? Is he just going to stick straight back into his clear? Like, I think, honestly, right from the get-go here, Zanzarah's being put on the back foot.
Yeah, and that maybe strikes a bit of an issue, because Razork is much more aggressive, much more sort of looking for as many fights as possible. Just as I say that, they're straight onto MagiFelix in the mid lane, and that is not something that MagiFelix is unused to. He has been very heavily played around, and the enemy junglers often do like to spend a lot of time trying to gank him.
MagiFelix has something like the highest jungle proximity of enemy junglers in his lane. Legit, like, he's getting perma-capped in this mid lane. He can't be having too much fun so far in the lane phase of his experience in the LEC. But to be perfectly honest, I also think that speaks a lot about the strength of this guy and just how he is as a player. If you can absorb that that attention and that pressure, it really helps your team out. And as we've seen, MagiFelix has still been able to deliver in these late game team fights as a carry for Astralis. So I think honestly, it's something that works in Astralis' favor.
I think what I would counter to that, and what I would add, is that it might work in their favor, but they need to do more with it. Like, that pressure that MagiFelix draws, I want to see Astralis convert it into something. I think that's one of the things that is missing from the Astralis game right now. They're not very good at converting all the pressure that MagiFelix absorbs. As we said, he has one of the highest jungle proximities, or opponent jungle proximities in the LEC right now. They don't actually convert it into anything. And I think that's the question for me this game. If this continues to be the case, especially because Syndra's now lost her flash, what do Astralis do? Like, where do they focus? Where do they put their pressure this game to give themselves the best shot of winning?
I still think you can just sit mid. Like, Yone is one of these champions who's still very, very vulnerable. Like, he tends to push out pretty hard anyway, and he's not really got any good escapes. So now that he's hit that level 6, it's a little bit easier for him, but you know, if you combo Olaf and Syndra, like, I definitely think you can still attack Yone. And we're going to see Misfits here start up this dragon. Something that we didn't mention here leading up to this dragon play was VandeR got the first reset ahead of Promisq. So Promisq was still in lane when VandeR was leaving lane, and he was able to walk into the river, get rid of all of Astralis' vision here. They got to push into mid as well. They caught Promisq in that reset, so it's a perfect play right here for these guys to pick up the first dragon of the game, getting that Inferno.
VandeR just going to go for a headbutt. Promisq still eating a huge amount of damage in lane here. And Rel on low HP, you know, she's not the tankiest in the world. Obviously, she gains those resistances, but I mean, that's not a good place for Promisq to be if he wants to look for engages. He's going to be forced to back again already. And honestly, Misfits just kind of edging it out in the 2v2 just in terms of these small trades.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking here Kobbe is going to be pretty happy with that one. Rel obviously is a very high pressure champion. I think Zanzarah in general as a lane, you've got to be pretty respectful of these two. So Alistar is often picked into Rel because of his ability to... I don't know whether I'd say he counters Rel. I think he's good into Rel, but I think Rel is just on that caliber where you can't like fully counter her. But he's got good disengage to really just slow down what Rel wants to do. And actually, so far, you know, Misfits been able to turn that into positive trades for themselves.
I've always seen it as like a bit of a nullifying matchup in the sense that I think you can stun Alistar out of his headbutt Pulve combo as Rel, and then obviously if ever Rel ever engage, Alistar just waits and then goes for his Pulve when the engage comes through. So it's one of those lanes that's just a bit like, you know, whoever engages first usually ends up losing. So it's like it's like a neutralizing matchup, I think.
I don't think you're wrong there, my friend. It's not going to be too interesting down here, I don't think, unless someone really mucks up or we get some jungle attention. I still think you've got to put your eyes towards mid side and see what Vetheo wants to do, see what Razork wants to do around him. Because as you mentioned as well, you know, MagiFelix still does not have his flash. It's still on cooldown. But both of these lanes, both of these champions, mega explosive once they've got their ultimates, as they both have. Like, really easy setup, loads of damage. If any of these junglers can pay a visit to mid lane, it might be a little bit scary, as we're just going to see Misfits here taking this first Herald of the game, be able to use that to get some more gold into their pockets, chunk down a tower, and give themselves a bit of a sexier early game.
And honestly, Razork has been everywhere right now. He's got a level lead on Zanzarah. He was able to secure first Drake. He's now secured first Rift Herald. Astralis just seemingly losing out on specifically jungle-orientated map rotations right now. They just aren't able to get into some of these neutral objectives, and that worries me a little bit. Like, I think you are going up against a team that has got good scaling, and if you're giving up this much pressure early game, I'm struggling to see where you find your window to get back in.
But I also think it's important to note, like, you can easily just throw a game away by trying to contest things that you're not particularly comfortable contesting. And, you know, these games are really important right now. Like, we're not in the playoffs at this point, but still, there's a huge amount of pressure to even get into the playoffs for both these teams. Both Astralis and Misfits are still looking at potential playoff berths here. Misfits, obviously, they're tied with Schalke and XL at 5 and 8, although Schalke did just lose, so that's 5 and 9 for them. If they want to make any ground between two teams who've honestly been trending downwards, then playing against Astralis is not a game you can lose. And if you do, like, just misstep or muck up, like, this is the kind of game you're really going to be kicking yourself if you just play a bit overzealous, over greedy, and kind of throw it away.
where do you want to see Astralis make a move then? And that's the question that I have. You know, they obviously have the potential for strong dueling with the Syndra, like the skirmishes work well. You have the Rel, who we know is great against up in these grouped up team fights. Where do you want to see Astralis focus? Like maybe second Herald, second Dragon, a little bit later than that? Like,
yeah, I'm like, I just don't think there's a lot of proactivity to be had, honestly, in this game, just from both sides, at least right now in the lane phase. Like, you do have good setup from, like, okay, you know what, as I say that, we're going to move down towards the bot side. Like, we have good setup from both these teams, but I think at the same time, we've got a lot of nullification tools as well. But here we go, Misfits going for the dive.
Uh-oh, it's the 4-man dive police, and they are going to arrest Promisq. He gets taken down very low. First blood is there. Vetheo will jump out of that engage. VandeR with the ultimate keeps himself safe. And Jeskla now without a support.
Misfits did a really good job there, pushing in that mid lane, getting that 4-man roam on the bot side. There's not a huge amount of risk to diving when you have an Alistar in your team who can pop that unbreakable will. So he can tank out loads of tower shots, even though he did still almost die. Still able to bring down Promisq there. And first blood going over to Misfits. We're very happy about that. Oh, no.
This is a bit of a yikes. This is a bit of a yikes, but Jeskla will be able to flash out and has the backup of Zanzarah. But that's an unneeded flash.
Is he going for it, though? He's thinking about it. He's thinking about... Nah, it's not. He's lost it. I wanted to see the W snipe. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for it. It's not. It's still on cooldown. I think it just came with cooldown now. So, yeah. Unless this was an Earth game, I don't think we were going to be able to see Kobbe make that heroic strike, which is unfortunate, because that would have been exciting. But VandeR now with his Moby Boots is unlocked from this bot lane, able to move around as much as he wants. And whenever your support can move around the map, you know what happens? You deny vision. And denying vision, setting up your own vision, really important stuff if you want to go for objectives. As Misfits here, 11 minutes into the game, are going to be able to pick up their second dragon here. It's going to be an Ocean, setting us up for a Cloud Soul as the game goes on.
Yeah, and the help that Vetheo has had in the mid lane has allowed him to have much more, like a very heavy mid prio. VandeR Hex Flash immediately countered by MagiFelix's flash as well. But again, they are just putting pressure onto MagiFelix in this mid lane. They're going to drop the Herald, potentially the Drowsy coming through. Are they going to go for the dive? MagiFelix tried, Fate Sealed, bops him under tower, and that is a kill for Vetheo, and they will get a huge amount of plates off the back of it as well.
Yeah, that's a big play right there from Misfits. And this mid lane, I mentioned it a little bit. The setup there, the damage, it's a volatile lane, it's a vulnerable lane. MagiFelix isn't really overstepping here. He's under his tower. You should think he's pretty safe, but that's just how it is. You know, the damage coming out of Yone, just the whole setup from the rest of the Misfits squad as well. It's pretty potent there. It's really hard to deal with. MagiFelix is going to go down, and that's a lot of gold into the back pocket of Vetheo. I'm curious here to see, like, the plates that went down, whether, you know, that's going to make any significant impact there as well. Can we toggle to the goal? I can see just how rich Vetheo is when he went for that recoil there, because I think he's pretty up there. 700 gold, fairly significant, honestly, for 30 minutes into the game, and is pretty much, yeah, it's a pretty big lead, and he's already almost got his mythic complete, so he's a pretty happy boy right now.
Our entire game, I didn't even know if you realized this, guys.
What did we not realize, Mr. Kid and Excoundrel low? In fact, I think there is so much not to realize here that I don't think that Kieran can even explain. But that's fine, because I'm here to explain some equally surprising things right here. I'm looking right here at Astralis, okay? Astralis, lads, you didn't have the best start to the split, but you're doing better as things go on, and I think there's still potential right here. So you've got to buckle up. If you are going to make playoffs, you're going to go up against adversity. You've been doing it the whole split. This game is a microcosm of the whole split, you know? So the whole split's been a little bit difficult. This is also a little bit difficult, but it's not done. It's not done just yet. Astralis going to be looking to make something happen, but oh my sweet, oh no, Misfits are doing it again. MagiFelix, he's going to be put to sleep in more ways than one. He's down in that mid lane, not going to be able to do anything there. Kobbe's going on Jeskla again, not the 1v1 once more. Kobbe with a flash from the Blade Caller there, that's nicely done. 1v1 going over in the favor of Misfits AD carry once again. It's all happening everywhere. Astralis, they're losing their marbles left, right and center. Misfits diving tier 2 tower 14 minutes into the game. Oh my goodness, what am I witnessing? Misfits are really popping off in this one. They said, you know what, guys? We want this playoffs. We're going to go into it in a bang. And they've just done exactly that. This fight's been so long, MagiFelix has even respawned. Look at him. He TP back into the plane, not going to find anything, but Misfits will be very happy with that one right there. 2-1-2 now over to Vetheo. Finish that Mythic up as well. And you know what? Yone is a one-item power spike champion, not specifically the Mythic, but with the Berserker's Greaves, but he'll still be happy to pick up as normal shield buyers. We're going to see the sad, sad tale of MagiFelix in this mid lane. So easy to dive on top of that Syndra. Astralis do try. Sorry, am I like, no, I'm good, sorry. Astralis will try to collapse into that mid lane, but it's just, it's just not really happening. Misfits coming out on top of the defender. Honestly, Vetheo is just absolutely nutty here, and for Misfits, it's really, really good to see this kind of thing, and honestly, I can't wait to see more of it. Unfortunately, guys, we have lost Excoundrel. He has disappeared into the void, and as such, maybe he's not, maybe he's back. I've been told maybe we have... No, okay, he's not here. He's, wait, maybe he is, you know... Okay, I'm just gonna hand this over to the adults here. You can take it away. Quickshot, please save me.
Can you not hear me, Foxy? Hello? Can you not hear me, Foxy? Hello? Yeah. I had to quickly... My sound driver crashed in the middle of the fight.
Hello and welcome everybody, it's Quickshot and MSF here, taking over from Excoundrel and Foxdrop. I apologize about changing Shoutcaster pair mid-game. Unfortunately, we do have some connection issues. To our British buddies, Excoundrel and Foxdrop, thank you so much for joining us. MSF, hello, welcome to the caster desk. Let's quickly summarize the game. I know that you were just getting ready.
Look, I was sprinting around the studio. I've got half my makeup on, so I've missed a lot, Trevor. Catch me up to speed.
Well, as it stands, Misfits have been doing very well, playing proactively. And last week, one of the things we talked a lot about was how well Vetheo and Razork had comboed up. We'll continue the story in a moment, as Misfits are 2 dragons up, 4,500 gold. And Vetheo's Yone is so incredibly fed. 3-0-2 coming into the fight. Razork is inside the pit. This is the 3rd dragon of the game. Good
Zanzarah, he got it!
Pulverize, the engage goes in. It's Zanzarah that secures the dragon, but it will be the fight to Misfits. They managed to pick up one, it's not done yet. There's the dash in from Kobbe. Manages to close out the 2nd of the fight. Now turn their attention to the bottom lane tower.
I mean, all things considered, not too bad for Astralis. They only lose 1 kill, or 2 kills to the one that they got, and they get the Drake as well. A good smite combo there from Zanzarah, using the true damage of Azee to lock that one down. So Astralis are going to hold on to this game for now and delay that soul by at least 5 minutes.
The point that I was trying to finish out there, MSF, is that Razork and Vetheo are comboing up very well with the support of the rest of the team. I think one of the things that's standing out to me over the course of the last 18 minutes is just how on the same page Misfits have looked. Very well coordinated, and here's a team fight replay that'll help accentuate that in the back end.
Yeah, and again, Astralis are just trying to buy some space to get Zanzarah into the pit. Calms it down very nicely. VandeR's engage is very good going on forward here, but you see the 0 counterplay Everfrost into ultimate there from MagiFelix helps shut down Vetheo, and Vetheo was so much the gold, I believe, for this Misfits team. Once he's out of here and a turret in the way, Misfits just aren't able to chase it on too far forward. So even from behind, you do have to credit Astralis for putting together that play to get that steal.
And now it's going to be a more difficult situation for Astralis. They managed to steal the Drake, which you highlighted, and it buys them some time. But the team composition from Misfits and the way that they have played the last 20 minutes of the game, they have been proactive, they've been forward-facing, they've got themselves 2 towers to 0 already. They are willing to fight. I will admit, when I saw the Yone locked in, I got real nervous, because the last time that happened for Misfits, it was against SK, and Vetheo just got dumpstered. This time around, 4-2-3 and looking very good.
Yeah, and Vetheo has to play weak side of the map right now. With the rest of his team going up towards Herald, you could see the idea Astralis had of sending 4 or 5 people down towards that bottom side of the map, see if they could maybe catch out that Yone. Unfortunately for them, Vetheo a little bit too aware of the situation and does back up. But now Astralis with that pressure from the bot river, We're setting up around mid lane. There is a Zhonya's on Razork, though, so he has tools to stall.
Oh, let's see how much time he can buy.
Okay.
With just last second save on the Hourglass. The shockwave comes out and there's the kill secured, but HiRit with the re-engage, the tower being focused down by Jeskla. Knockup comes in from VandeR, and Kobbe is the one that gets the kill. Astralis still backing away. That's their first tower of the game.
Yeah, that's a big one for them. It will be traded on the bottom side of the map. Vetheo will knock that one down, and there's still the Rift Herald sitting in Razork's pockets. They're going to be able to use that to break one of these inner turrets later on into the game. Still, though, from what we've seen just in the last couple of minutes, a couple of nice plays put together there from Astralis. Chain CCing that Lilia. Razork had almost no chance to use that Zhonya's until it was pretty much too late, just on 1 HP. A Chilling Smite was enough to finish him off. So if Astralis can continue to use these plays when they have a numbers advantage, use that Syndra CC combo down with a Rel, it can be pretty tough to deal with here for Misfits. And if you can start to chunk away, get a shutdown, big gold worth on that Kai'Sa, these are the ways to try and get back into the game.
Oh man, it's going to be such an uphill battle, and who on earth is going to deal with Veteo's Yone? He's just picked up the Infinity Edge. Going to be pushing the side lanes, has the ability to do so. We saw him just pick up that bottom outer turret. And I think from the Misfits perspective, how do you see them playing out the rest of this game with the gold lead, the dragon lead that they have, and obviously the very farmed Yone?
Yeah, well, I think Misfits are primarily going to look to play around the pressure of Vetheo in a side lane. It seems like he could pretty much match up against anyone that faces him on Astralis, so Misfits need to make sure that they can support him to get that push off, because he can only really go up towards the tower if he knows where Astralis are on the map. You saw when his team was playing away from him, he had to be very cautious, and he could only actually take the turret in the bot side when all 5 members of Astralis were seen towards mid. So look at your minimap right now, you see VandeR walking into the top side jungle with Razork not too far behind to set up the vision to allow Vetheo to push on forward and maybe steal away any jungle camps as they spawn as well.
VandeR has been very, very bold this game.
Or just do the Baron, Trevor, why not?
There you go. The pressure from Vetheo and the advantage that Misfits have accrued means they're inside the Baron pit. VandeR will try to play interference for the time being. Teleport has now been broken as WhiteKnight will pop himself into the river. Misfits, they're sticking to this. It's going low. This could be a 50-50. Dash away at 2,000
Vetheo on the flank.
HP. A HiRit with the engage. The unstoppable force. The dash forward to the killer instinct. Kobbe gets knocked away from a barrel and he's taken down. That's not what Misfits are wanting. But Vetheo on the side lane manages to counter the AD kill. Zanzarah picks up VandeR. So far, 2 for 1 in favor of Astralis, but Astralis are split up in focus. The exhaust will slow down the re-engage and the damage from Razork. And in a 3v4, Misfits are now looking for more.
I mean, Astralis come away with 2 kills. They were able to single out Kobbe in a very spread out fight, with Vetheo only finding 1 member, still too low HP. Vetheo goes back in.
So much damage onto Zanzarah, but here comes the re-engage for WhiteKnight. Manages to pick up the kill. The support from Astralis is paying off.
Big kill on Vetheo, huge shutdown on Kobbe. I didn't catch who exactly picked up the money on that one, but I'm sure we'll be able to see it during the replay. That's going to be a Void Staff completed by MagiFelix in mid, so you can see trying to shrink down on some of the goal differences in the carry positions, because that's where the big gap is, mid lane and AD carry. But hey, if you're instantly blowing up the AD carry and the mid laner is off assassinating 1 player on the opposite end of the fight, those differences don't matter so much.
Man, Kobbe was really feeling bold there, dashing into 3 members of Astralis. I think it was MagiFelix that picked up the kill credit. We'll check it out now in the replay.
Yeah, we'll look at this one, because again, the setup at the start looks good. Misfits are on the Baron. Zanzarah doesn't really have a great way into the pit. A huge scat of the week actually disrupts VandeR's entire engage. While HiRit goes in, Vetheo is on the wrong side of the fight. Kobbe gets in, gets rooted, gets CC'd, blasted. You can't even see him because the other picture is above it. But then on the other side, of course, Razork and Vetheo, the 2 damage dealers still left in the fight, they're 2v1ing 1 player, so they're not going to be able to help out here too much. And you can see that if the fight was all together, I think Misfits, of course, are going to walk away with it. MagiFelix just barely survives, even when they have the numbers advantage on the left hand of the fight. But still, this gold lead shrinks a little bit. Now it's just 4K. The Baron still left up here. Astralis have some signs of life.
What do you think of the team composition here from Astralis? They're in a deficit, and fortunately for Astralis, Misfits have donated some plays their way, right? They've overcommitted to a few engages, and Astralis have been able to pick up some kills, but with the deficit they're in and the comp they're facing against, How will they do? We're going to find out as VandeR's going all
TP
the way
in mid lane.
forward. Kobbe's got the killer instinct.
That's
He hasn't
HiRit.
pulled the trigger. HiRit has not got the ultimate available just yet. Will finally pop
Zoom,
it.
zoom!
Manages to catch Jeskla. What goes up must come down. HiRit is buying so much time, but nobody has fallen just yet. Vetheo with the engage and is forced to dash away. Not going to be able to find the kill, and now it's up to Astralis. They have the option to repel this attack.
Yeah, they've still got the ultimate coming out of MagiFelix, the Magnet Storm from Promisq as well, and we've seen that Rel ultimate be team fight winning so many times here in the LEC. Just the ulti there for Kobbe. So Misfits with not the same firepower. If there were to be a fight, it would be that VandeR flank. See him chilling out over towards the blue buff. If he could get around, if he could find the backline of Astralis that doesn't have access to the Feather Storm, that would be a deal breaker. But it looks like both teams are going to back away.
So crucial. Everything Astralis have needed to do to buy time, they've been able to. They've been able to interrupt and punish Misfits' decision-making. And I'm going to go back to that question as we're now entering the second, third item phase. What do you make of scaling on this comp?
Well, I think on paper, you look at Misfits, and they have so many good things going for them, right? You got like infinite scaling with the Scion on the HP in the top lane. He already went for the Gargoyles. He's just trying to be this giant meat shield in the front line. Like jungle roll, you have some good scaling too. I mean, I think Vetheo and Kobbe also have very strong scaling, especially in 1v1 situations the later we get into the game. The one concern I have for Misfits is this Syndra, because there's so much upfront burst damage and the range, the CC combination between Scatter the Weak and Everfrost, and you're dealing against, you know, the 3 damage dealers on Misfits, all very limited in their range. It's very easy to snipe one with CC, instantly blow them up, and then Astralis win the fight. So on paper, you favor Misfits in pretty much every single role, but the way this game plays out, if Astralis can find the right fights like they've found for the last 8 minutes, well, it could be a very different story, Trevor.
It's very true. When you think back to the last few engages, once the CC has been stacked and layered, it doesn't matter how much damage you have. And Kobbe, playing very bold and forward, has been punished. That's where his one death has come from. But we're 2 minutes away from the Soul, and Baron has been a bait, a carrot on a stick here for Misfits. They've tried to force Astralis' hand twice. Both times, Astralis has been able to mostly come away from the situation somewhat favorably. They've prevented the Baron and they've managed to pick up some kills, and right now Misfits, they reveal their hand by popping that swell seed.
Vetheo needs to be in the fight. He can't be going off on a solo mission on the side of one. If Misfits can get a controlled fight where they see everyone in front of them and it's not these skirmishes going all over the place, well then you almost have to favor them off of the itemization here. That's a big sleep though.
Jeskla's gonna get caught out. Feather Storm up into the air. Here comes the engage from HiRit. Gets the knockdown. Vetheo follows up with fantastic damage from the Fate Seal. Kobbe is trying to fire away, forced to flash back to his own team. WhiteKnight flashes away defensively himself, and Promisq will get popped down by HiRit. 2 quick kills. It was the sleep that set it up. It was Misfits that are trying to close this one out. Now Zanzarah running for his life. The Blooming Blows comes in and Kobbe picks up yet another. MagiFelix, the last man standing, unable to defend the base.
Oh, Razork's going to try to chase him down. VandeR on the hunt as well. MagiFelix has a turret, and that's just about it. But man, HiRit's Scion is just disturbing. Channeling forward on that ultimate over and over, punishing poor Jeskla right the second he comes out of air on the Feather Storm. And Misfits are going to turn it straight around for the Baron.
2-0-7 for HiRit on the Scion. He's managed to time his engages flawlessly, catching Jeskla out despite that ultimate of hers, throwing her up into the air. And I think something that's important to call out here is, again, this approach and this playstyle. Misfits, they are playing this bold. They are playing this a little bit reckless, if you will. Throwing themselves at Astralis, and because of their gold lead, because of the champions that they do have, they are making it work. But keep your eyes on Jeskla. He's the one that gets tagged and caught out.
Yeah, Razork with a really nice E there. I mean, it looks like he's trying to juke away from the W from Kobbe, but then here we go. Here it goes in. He cannot be stopped whatsoever. Vetheo goes flying in on the combination as well. So that poor Xayah, once she went up, she never came down. She died and she was still airborne in this fight. Misfits, of course, from there can go ahead and chase down and pick up all the kills in the world, but I just love that. What a beautiful fight for Misfits.
It really was, and I didn't actually know that Xayah could legitimately fly. You don't see that very often. But it was the crowd control that we talked about, and Astralis this time around, unable to get Jeskla out. He was flashless because of all the previous engages, and that means Misfits get super minions in the middle lane. They pick up the Baron buff, and when they were backing and spending all that hard-earned gold, the second Cloud Drake was picked up by Astralis.
Yeah, look at HiRit here. He's just standing, being a nuisance, buffing up those minion, those super waves. And he has that ultimate if he ever wanted to look on the flank. Now they're going to change roles, because again, if he's trying to dive a tower here, he'll be in the front, but Misfits, they want it. Vetheo has his ult.
Vetheo's looking for it, holds on to it for now. No fates unsealed. MagiFelix playing way back. He's so afraid to engage. The pop-up comes in from Vetheo, killing spree onto Zanzarah, and his GA is going to get popped. Now Razork, he picks up the second of the fight. Promisq is the target. VandeR manages to find Jeskla. He's holding on to his flash for now. The feathers, they fly. They take down VandeR, but Misfits do not care. They have pummeled Astralis into their base, into their fountain, and HiRit goes unkilled in 30 minutes. Misfits turn their attention to the Nexus as Vetheo and Razork will close that one out. HiRit just styling on Astralis, and Misfits pick up their third win in a row.
It's a critical win, too, for Misfits to keep alive in the hunt for playoffs. They've been turning around these last couple of weeks. Now sitting right on the cusp, trying to make their name the 6th to enter into the playoffs after next week. And a win like that, you have a lot to be happy with.
You absolutely do, especially with Schalke dropping the game earlier today. That 3-horse race for 6th is going to get very interesting. Welcome back to the Berlin studio. Just want to give another shout out again to Excoundrel and Foxdrop. Apologies for the connection issues interrupting their second cast of the day. Indra and I will be bringing you the games for the remainder. I didn't know you could do half a game. That's new to me.
It's a new one.
That's a new one.
It's kind of fun, though, you know? It's like 3.5 game day.
I feel like I'm so out of the loop, though, because I don't have the story set up. You know?
Well, I think the way we do it from now on is halfway through a game, if Vetheo starts talking about Nocturne, we just swap him out. We just mute his mic.
Agreed.
Slot us in.
Kia player of the game nominees at LEC on Twitter: Razork, Vetheo, and Kobbe. I do think it was impressive to see how Misfits approached that game. Let's see if they can keep it up. After the break, it is time for our match of the day.
It's the match of the season!
As G2 Esports and Rogue fight for sole position of first.
I don't really consider it gear. It's an extension of who I am. It blurs the line between fantasy and reality. Sometimes, I can't tell myself from my machine. I think that's by design. welcome back to the LEC after Misfits versus Astralis, and I'm joined by Vetheo, the mid laner of Misfits. Vetheo, there was a very solid game from Misfits. That was actually a very fun game to watch, and your Yone pick, a fun fact, you're the only LEC mid laner to ever have picked Yone. So can you tell me more about your Yone pick and how he plays into mages like Syndra, perhaps?
I'm really happy to play this champ finally. It's like the second time I picked it, but first time I kinda overforced it. I don't think it was a good game, but it was a really good game for my champ. I got a bit too cocky sometimes, but I think the champ is really good against mage like Syndra, Orianna, or things like this. And when they have no log CC, and yeah, I really enjoy the champ, and I'm really happy to play it finally.
Yeah, you were like turret diving, you were side laning, you got the infinity edge, and overall, your team was working so well around you, and everyone is saying that, hey, this Misfits looks so much stronger that it looks like a completely different team almost compared to the first half of spring. In a first-person perspective, how are you enjoying this sudden rise of Misfits? You know, what is your current take on Misfits' performance that it has shown in the last 3 games?
I don't really think that we're way better than before. I just think we play like more together and we have more plan when we go into the game. Before we are playing some of games of games where sometimes we are going bot, sometimes top, sometimes in, and here the plan is more to play around mid in 2 sides, I think, and I feel like it's really good for our team and it helps a lot.
What kind of conversation led to the symptoms that you're describing, such as, you know, planning more, like, you know, and perhaps even having more identity within Misfits Gaming?
Can you repeat? Please, sorry.
So what kind of conversations or changes happened within Misfits in order for them to, you know, perhaps do more planning as you have described just earlier in your previous answer?
I mean, we had like huge lose streak and we knew that we needed to change something, so we didn't find like the identity and we tried some of stuff, and we knew that when we played around mid it went like better than when we play around other lanes and when we have a plan like this, so we just tried this in practice. It went well the first week we tried it. We keep going and keep working on the same way for practice, and it went great. So that's why I think.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of things are working out for Misfits, and it is certainly showing on stage. One final question, Vetheo. With this momentum, with this new identity that you just described, Misfits has found, how confident are you about Misfits' chances to the playoffs, and what does Misfits have to do to solidify its place there?
I think we are in run for playoff with Schalke and Excel, and both of the team are on huge losing streaks, so our momentum is way better than them for sure. I think if we keep working on this, if we just play like we should play, and we play like we should have played since the beginning of the split, we will go to playoff for sure.
Thank you so much for that, and we will look forward to the rest of the Misfits games. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And after the break, we'll be back with G2 versus Rogue, the fight for first place. Okay, wow, that's a great tagline, so I'll definitely see you here soon.